I'm running out of things to say about this team. Hello, darkness, my old friend. You've come to talk with me again. Sens lose 6-1 to the Washington Capitals.
How are the young guys now? I finally did it! I scored again! Quit taking penalties!
The Sens are gonna blow this game. Way to tie up the stick in front.
Not. Well done. Just well done.
You better believe we're gonna be having a penalty chat at the end of this one.
What a time to be alive!
What a long and brutal season that was.
This team, man!
Not that I didn't see that coming, but holy smokes. I'm getting really tired of these terrible efforts all the time. The Sens have now lost 5 games in a row. They've been outscored 26-12 in those 5 games. Push it back 10 games, and they have just 2 wins. And in those games, they've been outscored 46-28. Think about that for a minute. The Sens have given up over 5 goals a game in their last 5 games. If the sample size isn't big enough for you, push it back 10, it's still over 4.5 goals a game. Look out, Detroit! Here come the Sens! Let's just get into lineup changes. Health has been a big factor for the Sens so far this season, and they started to get some players back for this game, as both Dylan DeMello and Anthony Duclair were ready to return to the lineup, and both did return. To make room for those two, Cody Golubeff came out on the blue line, and Mikhail Bodker came out up front. And those would be the only moves the Sens would make, as Craig Anderson got another start and goal, and the Sens made no call-ups or send-downs. And one of the guys still in the lineup for the Sens is Vladislav Namestnikov, who celebrated his 400th game played at the start of this one. He's still a long way off 1,000 yet, but it's a nice accomplishment for the young Russian. And he still has lots of time to get to that 1,000 game mark. Shockingly, the Sens come out for this contest and actually aren't too bad. They keep the Capitals at bay early, and not even 6 minutes in, grab the first lead of the hockey game. Balcers forces a turnover and feeds Anisimov. He skates into the Cap zone, fires a wrister towards the goal, and... wait, it went in? I'm not gonna lie to you. I thought the puck hit the glass and went back the other way. All of a sudden everybody's celebrating and I'm going, that didn't go in. Then all of a sudden it was like, oh wait, it did go in. What a shot! Unfortunately, that was about the end of the good news for the Sens, as the Capitals started to take over the game just about right after that. Certainly by the end of the first period, the Capitals are flying, but Andy keeps the Sens in it, and we head to the first intermission with Ottawa clinging to a 1-0 lead. And during the first intermission, the TSN broadcasters were talking about how Ottawa's second periods have been pretty poor of late, and they need to manage that. So Ottawa goes out in the second period, and barely a minute into the second period, the Sens turn the puck over, it bounces off Verana, goes to Oshie, he fires a wrister by the glove of Andy, and just like that, we're tied at 1. And that was a great start to the period, wasn't it? And then just over 7 minutes later, Kuznetsov feeds Radko Gudas at the point, he blasts one by Andy, and it's 2-1 Capitals. And just when you think the second period has been terrible, the Capitals score again, and make it even worse. After Dylan DeMello pulls an Alexander Ovechkin shot off the goal line with under 4 minutes left in the period, Ovechkin comes back less than a minute later, snipes one by Andy, and it's 3-1 Capitals. And this game is getting way out of hand. Thankfully, the Sens are able to batten down the hatches enough to get the game to the second intermission, with the Capitals leading just 3-1. And then 41 seconds into the third, Backstrom feeds Oshie, he beats Andy, and it's 4-1 Capitals. But the Capitals weren't done there. Oh no. About a minute and a half later, Siegenthaler feeds Eller in front, he beats Andy, and it's 5-1 Capitals. And I'm not gonna lie, at this point, with the game completely out of hand, and Donald Trump and Iran basically seemingly bombing each other into war that night, I admittedly turned the game off and flipped on the news for a little while. And that goal spells the night for Andy, as Marcus Hogberg comes on to replace him. But I didn't know that until I flipped the game back on with 3 minutes and 41 seconds left in the period. The puck's on Ovechkin's stick right as I turn the game back on. He fires the puck by Hogberg, and it's 6-1. And how poetic. I literally hit last channel on the TV remote right as the puck was on Ovechkin's stick. It was on his stick, off his stick, in the net like that, and just ironic that I turn it on right as the Capitals score again. Thankfully, it doesn't get any worse, and the Capitals skate away with a 6-1 win. And that now gives the Sens 7 losses in a row against the Capitals, with their last 4 seeing the Sens outscored 20-5. They're basically losing every game against the Capitals right now, 5-1. Let's just get into good news, bad news. They don't really deserve any good news right now because they've just been awful lately. But I'll tie that into my good news. The Sens keep losing, and that's the good news. Lafreniere looked unreal at the World Juniors, and with every loss, the Sens are getting closer and closer to Lafreniere, as they now sit second last in the league and have a great lottery odds to get him. Between their pick and San Jose's, which isn't much better than Ottawa's, the Sens are in great position right now going into the draft lottery, and that is the good news. Now, for the bad news. Ottawa's starts to periods last night were just brutal, and that is the bad news. Take the first 2.5 minutes of the second and third periods. The Sens were outscored 3-0. You start off periods by giving away momentum like that, and you're going to get into trouble. The Sens did that in the second period, then came out in the third, trailing by a couple goals, and not even a minute in, boom, now it's 4 goals. It was actually 3 goals, but not even a minute and a half later, it was 4 goals. The Sens did absolutely nothing to help themselves last night, particularly at the start of periods where they were just terrible, and that is the bad news. Next up, the Sens return to action Friday evening when they visit the Detroit Red Wings. That contest will be the third of 4 meetings on the season between the two teams, with the Sens currently leading the head-to-head series 2-0. And while this season hasn't exactly gone well for the Sens, and lately it's just been awful, it's gone a lot better than it has for Detroit, as the Sens currently lead Detroit by 12 points in the standings with a game in hand. If the Sens can pick up a win in this contest, I don't see the Red Wings catching them before the end of the year. But if Detroit can pick up a win, things will start to get a little more interesting come the end of the season. And I'll be honest, I'm kind of torn. On the one hand, it would be nice to see the Sens snap the streak and pick up a win, but on the other, it would help their lottery odds if they could lose to Detroit and close that gap. I guess as long as they play well, I'll be happy. Just don't get embarrassed by the Red Wings. That's it for this video. Hit like if you liked it, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, share it with anybody you know, and today's question is, what would you do to fix Ottawa's poor second periods of late? Do you think it's mental? Do you think it's something about preparation between periods? Let me know down below, and we'll see you Friday evening when the Sens visit the Detroit Red Wings.